We stand to do the pledge with us, please? I
pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Everybody look the consent agenda over up. Melvin, will you put the record? We're all here.
Got it.
Okay. Everybody look the consent agenda over.
Motion to approve the consent agenda.
Okay.
Second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried. First up, Marilyn Kennedy, Election Administrator, Auditor's Office. Canvass of City of Avoca and to authorize auditor to pay election costs.
Well, I have 5 signatures today. This was for the park commissioner. Just pass you all one and you can pass it down.
Okay?
Was a write-in winner that choose not to take the position, and state law, their charter mandates that they have to do it by
Okay.
special election.
Got a motion by Supervisor Wickman. Need a second?
Second.
Okay. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Okay. Is that a 4-year term, do you know,
It's
Marilyn?
a 6-year term.
6-year term. No wonder the other guy didn't want it.
Well, they said that when they got the property, and I think she said like 50 years ago, they gave them the property with the, you will fill it by an elected.
Hi, Kristen.
Give this to Ellen.
This one's done, Marilyn.
Thank you.
Another one done.
Maybe you won't have to see me for a while.
That one was easy, wasn't it?
That was an easy one. Thank you.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Do you have costs on that, Marilyn?
You know, I do not have the total. It seemed like it was, Jody was saying it was around 3,000.
Wow.
You had to take a machine out there for one day then?
Yeah, Building and Grounds took it out for us with the help of Josh, so that at least saved us that amount, so.
Huh,
Thank you.
thanks.
Thank you, Marilyn.
Matt Wyatt know that this was,
I certainly
Public
hope so.
hearing's at 10, so we've got time for Stacy's presentation while we wait.
we could do that. Gonna jumble things around here. Bring our WIDA director up first, so she can get out of here. Stacy Kinney, Executive Director, Western Iowa Development Association. Update on WIDA and discussion under decision on funding request. Melvin, would you bring the podium around, please?
Hi. Okay, I had screens in.
Thank you, Stacy.
Brian.
Well, we'll do that first.
Thank you. Here you go, Jeff.
Yeah, thank you.
You're welcome.
You want her to stand at the podium? Brian?
She can stand wherever she's comfortable. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Pull that out.
Wasn't sure if you knew we were starting early, Matt. Hi, Pam.
Well, good morning, everyone. Thank you for having us this morning. I'm Stacy Kinney. I'm the Executive Director for Western Iowa Development. I'm new to this position. I was brought on September 4th. I am here to request financial support to sustain and enhance our efforts in Potawatomi County. As we enter the year 2024, we are focused on expanding our membership base, increasing community support, and marketing the growth and development of our county. Next slide, please, Mitch.
Good slide.
This is a perfect slide. Our mission statement is the role of Western Iowa Development Association is to facilitate economic opportunity, business success, community engagement, prosperity, and quality of life for rural Western Iowa. Our primary functions are to provide services that are effective to both its business members and the communities as whole, to act as a voice for the business and professional community. Next slide, please. We specialize in communication and marketing. My goal is to improve and enhance awareness for our residential rural Potawatomi County. Next slide, please, Mitch. What is a rural 501c6? It's an organization to tax speak for our business associations such as a Chamber of Commerce. Although we are organized to promote business, we do not generate a profit and we do not pay shares or dividends. This qualifies us as a nonprofit organization exempt from paying income tax. Next slide. This is an example of us being out in the community. It's a ribbon cutting. WIDA has been present at 7 successful ribbon cuttings within the rural counties in the last 3 months. 2 examples are, this is 1899 Rentals. It's a rental company for homeowners and commercial use in Carson, Iowa. We partnered with Advanced Southwest Iowa to reach a greater audience. The next sample is Green Valley Inc. They are located in Avoca, and if you haven't heard of them, get out there and check them out. They're a hydroponic produce venture. It's a true labor of love. Our ribbon cutting was a tremendous success, bringing in over 60 people to the Avoca area. This Facebook reach posts 6,498 organic views with over 432 likes, 53 comments, and 17 overall shares. If you're not familiar with what an organic view is, we did not pay for any promoting. So everyone that saw that was within the community, or, you know, nothing was paid for with that. Let's see, we're on to goals and objectives. So we are here to increase city memberships. We aim to expand our influence and reach within rural Potawatomi County by seeking support from additional cities such as Neola, Crescent, Underwood, and Carter Lake. With their involvement, we can foster a stronger sense of community and increase our funding base. A little bit about me. With over 25 years experience as a photographer and a small business owner, I look forward to expanding WIDA's social media outreach by photographing local events of the people that embody Potawatomi County. I also strive to be an expert on rural Potawatomi County. Next slide. County support. To accommodate the growing population and maximize our impact, we recognize the importance of securing support from the county level. By working together with county officials, we can establish a solid foundation for promoting business growth, tourism, and community throughout Potawatomi County. Next slide. Our social media, in 2022, page views were 54,000, which was 352.5 higher percent than 2021. November of 2023, there were 11,189 page views in one single month. In 2023, we are on pace to have more than over 130,000 page views. 2023 shows more than 2,500 Facebook followers as of December 1st. This is 120% higher than 2022. Next slide. Why fund?
Is that WIDA's website or Waterways site?
It's our website,
The
Western
WIDA's,
Iowa
okay.
Development, yes. Our Facebook page. Why fund WIDA? We are the marketing and communication for rural Potawatomi County. Residents will receive communication about social events, their effective social media marketing strategies, websites, and newsletters. Our newsletters come electronic and printed. Next slide. And these are just a few slide examples of us being out within the community. This is in Carson at a ribbon cutting. Next slide. And some of our partners. Next slide. There's a few of these. And then we come to some of our partners. WIDA, we have a strong relationship with Potawatomi County Tourism. While attending the November meeting, Mark Eichman, the executive director, stated that their website is in need for photography in rural Potawatomi County areas. I am working with Emma to collaborate on the use of photographs I capture to serve as a double between our social sites. Since my September start with WIDA, I have had 2 meetings with Shalimar, she's with Advanced Southwest Iowa, and several phone conversations and have a strong partnership in the works. I have also met with Amber Moore from Avoca Main Street. We have collaborated on 3 ribbon cuttings, and I attended the Longest Table, which is one of their big supporters to bring money into the Avoca area. I've also met with 10 of our supporting city clerks and several of our business supporters, growing our membership sponsors with 5 new members in our past 3 months. Next slide. And you can just forward on to the next slide, Mitch. These are just some more samples of what we post on our social sites. Next slide. And next slide. And next slide. These are a lot of our supporters as well. Next slide. And next slide. And next slide. So with our budget allocation to achieve our goals for the year of 2024, we have identified the need for funding in the amount of $50,000 or more if the budget allows for this. As the executive director, I will oversee our organization's daily operations and spearhead strategic initiatives to promote the interests and unique attributes of Potawatomi County. I will be the rural advocate who will be responsible for community outreach and marketing. We recognize the importance of visually representing the beauty and charm of our community by capturing professional photography and visual content. The funding will also help with website maintenance, travel costs, cell phone, computer, internet, and office needs. By providing financial support, you will be contributing to the growth and development of Potawatomi County, a community that we all proudly call home. We appreciate your continued support. Does anybody have any questions?
Stacy, what is your overall budget?
Tim, I was brought on September 4th, and we're still fact-finding what the actual budget will be. And I'm happy to come back in a few months once we figure that out.
No, just curious. Mike, do you know off the top of your head?
Well, I can tell you it's more than 50,000. It's more like right around double that if we sit there. Now, this last year, it's been a little bit more strained because we did have the loss of a director. So the budget actually took back some of that money from the labor costs, but we had to now upgrade and get the computers. So there was some extra costs involved in bringing Stacy on. So, it is in a little bit of a flux, but I know that it's more, it's probably right around that 75 to 80,000, wouldn't you say, Kevin?
Yeah.
So, I gotta look to the main man, Kevin. I don't wanna say anything to get me in
I
trouble.
would say
Kevin.
it's real close to that. Yeah.
But if you aren't following Western Iowa Development, please do so. There's great information out there.
Any other questions?
What was the funding last year, Mitch? It's been last year. Where did we get that from? Gaming. You have dedicated line.
This is for next year's budget, is that correct?
Yes.
Yes.
And we have 2 board members that sit on the WIDA board, and I know I was on the WIDA board way back 20-some years ago, and it's great to see that it's still in existence, and we are looking forward to increasing the benefits of the WIDA program.
Okay, looking for a motion to approve.
I don't have any issues with it. I think it's keeping our rural communities together. So I'll make that motion for next year's budget, $50,000 out of gaming.
Thank you. I'll second.
Can, when you guys get your budget put together, can you come back or
Of course.
what the balance of it is, or,
Mhm.
you know? I
We
know
can
there's
do
been
that.
some hurdles that you could, but it's been positive, so hopefully we can keep it going.
You know how it is with the new person starting, you kind
Oh,
of
yeah.
throw a bunch of money at the wall and see what sticks, you know? So, and it's really worked out. So,
That's a tough way to go. Okay, got a motion to approve?
Can I add one other question?
Yes, you can.
Do you have some list of your additional contributors then too?
I can supply that with you, yes.
Yeah. Okay,
Absolutely.
perfect.
Motion to approve by Supervisor Wickman, second by Miller. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Okay.
Those opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you
Good.
so much, everybody.
Welcome. Thank you.
Thanks, Stacy.
Thanks for keeping us
Of
updated.
course. Now I need to get
Appreciate
to
it.
Avoca.
thank you, guys.
Yep,
Yes,
thanks.
thank you. Okay, next up, Matt Wyatt, Director of Planning and Development, and/or Pam Kalstrup, Coordinator of Zoning and Land Use. Public hearing and first consideration of ordinance number 2023-06, an ordinance to amend Chapter 8 zoning ordinance of the Potawatomi County, Iowa Code by adding a definition of agricultural experiences to Section 8.002.020A and amending agricultural use exempt Section 8.001.050 and setting date of second consideration. Matt?
Yes, thanks for having us here today.
Hold on.
Oh, I'm sorry. Yes, you're right.
I'll make a motion to open the public hearing.
Sorry about that.
Second.
Melvin, will you do a roll call?
Chairman Shea,
Aye.
Supervisors Belt.
Aye.
Miller,
Aye.
Jorgensen.
Aye.
Wickman.
Okay, Matt,
Ready to go?
ready to go.
All right, we'll go over this ordinance a little bit for you. Some changes again to our Chapter 8 zoning ordinance. In regards to definition for agriculture, we will be repealing our current definition of agriculture, and we will be adding a new definition for agriculture, which is the use of land for agricultural purposes, including farming, dairying, pasturing, agricultural, horticultural, floricultural, viticultural, aqua farming, and animal and poultry husbandry, and the necessary agricultural uses for packing, treating, storing, and produce, provided, however, that the operation of such accessory use shall be secondary to that of the normal agricultural activities. We will also be adding a definition for agricultural experiences. Any agricultural related activity as a secondary use in conjunction with agricultural production on a farm, which activity is open to the public for the intended purposes of promoting or educating the public about agricultural practices, agricultural activities, and agricultural products. We will be repealing our current agricultural uses exempt section, and we'll be replacing it with an agricultural uses exempt section that's in accordance with the provisions of Chapter 335 Code of Iowa as amended. No regulations or restrictions adopted under the provisions of the ordinance shall be construed to apply to land, farmhouses, farm barns, farm outbuildings, or other buildings or structures which are primarily adapted by reason and nature for the use of the agricultural purposes while so used, provided however that the regulations and ordinances which relate to any structure, dam, obstruction, deposits, or excavation in the floodplains of any river, stream shall apply thereto. And that is, as section 0.1, no building permit or certificate of occupancy shall be required for the use of land for agricultural purposes or the constructions of buildings or structures incidental to the use of agricultural purposes on the land which such buildings and structures are located. .02 is land enrolled in soil and water conservation programs shall be considered land primarily adapted for the use of agricultural purposes. Section 3 is, it shall be the responsibility of any person or group claiming certain property is entitled to an exemption on the basis of this section to demonstrate that the property is used for agricultural purposes. Section 4, the factors which may be considered when determining whether land or structures are primarily used for agricultural purposes include but are not limited to the number of acres used for agricultural activities, the nature of those activities, the financial input by the owner or occupant, the role of the owner or occupant in the agricultural activities, and the time spent engaged in these activities, and the income derived from the activities. Section 5 is no conditional use permit, special use permit, special exemption, or variance shall be required for agricultural experiences on the property of which its primary use is agricultural production. Now this comes from code changes with the state of Iowa. Those code changes with the state of Iowa were derived from counties on the eastern side of the state that had put together a review policy of this that would have required people who had under 40 acres to go and basically go in front of a panel. So it wasn't from any process that we had going on in Potawatomi County. I think that we have a long history of supporting the agricultural community in our area and have a good relationship with those individuals. So this is really updating what they've added into the state code and putting it into our code.
Okay. Have we got people that want to speak in favor of this ordinance? Would you like to come up to the podium? I need you to speak your name, address. Mel, will you pull that podium back, please?
Yeah, he's a big, strong boy, I think he can do that.
I don't know, but I'm trying.
Come on over a little bit. There you go. Thank you,
Speak
Heath.
slowly.
Sure.
Yeah, thanks for listening.
Address.
My name is Heath Hoppus. My wife and I founded, own, and operate Hidden Hollow Farm here in the county, just north of town. On August 25th, myself and some 30 other residents sent you all a letter that you're familiar with, and that brought these issues to your attention and to the county's attention. And so first, I'd like to thank the board for addressing our concerns, and also just point out that these agricultural exemptions have been in state law, of course, since 1947, which is when they gave counties the authority to implement zoning regulations to begin with. So these are very important to all farmers, but they're especially important to small and beginning farmers such as ourselves. And so to summarize kind of the point, I wrote another letter to you on November 25th, which I'm going to read here. So this proposed amendment, it was recommended for approval by the Planning Commission on November 20th and has the stated objective of aligning the county ordinances with the Iowa State Code. And Chapter 335, the proposed changes that are drafted and that Mr. Wyant just read appear to mirror the state code, except that there's a omission of 335.2.2, which is the second sentence in Chapter 335 that was added in the amendment from summer of 2020. This sentence states, a county shall not require an application and approval or the payment of a fee in order for an ordinance to be deemed inapplicable to land, farm barns, farm buildings, farm outbuildings, or other buildings or structures that are primarily adapted for use for agricultural purposes under this section. One of the other attachments to the proposed amendment, attachment 3, is labeled the informational sheet. This is currently given out by the Planning and Development Department to a person seeking an ag exemption. This form is an outdated form if you've looked at it, and a reasonable person would consider this an application. And certainly from my experience, when I went in seeking an agricultural exemption, I was asked to fill out this form. The attachment has the language in it's problematic is the language still requiring a 35 acre, which is being struck from the county ordinances under this change. There's also a request for federal income tax information on this form. And there's language on there, the requesting a proof of 50% of your income comes from agriculture, comes from farming, which is not lawful. And the title on page 3 indicates that it's an agricultural exemption request, or as a reasonable person might say, application. So omission of this sentence combined with the approval of attachment 3 does not align with Iowa state law. I request that a motion be made or a modification of this amendment be done, and that the board direct the Planning and Development Department to develop an optional voluntary information sheet, which appears would be permitted should a citizen choose to fill one out. At the Planning Commission meeting on November 20th, I was not able to attend, unfortunately. Several topics were discussed, and I requested the board consider some of these topics as well. The Iowa Supreme Court case, Lang v. Lynn, Board of Adjustment, addresses a lot of these issues. At the meeting, Assistant County Attorney Brocker pointed out that it's not a person that qualifies for an ag exemption by meeting some definition of being a farmer. Rather, it's the land, the buildings, the farmhouses, etc., must be primarily adapted for and used for agricultural purposes. The Iowa Supreme Court defined agriculture in that Lang decision. The Lang opinion also states that a person exercising their rights under Chapter 335 does not have to derive their primary means of income from agriculture, and having an off-farm job would not preclude qualification for an exemption. The court discussed the fact that most farmers have off-farm jobs and the variability of agricultural income from year to year. And the court does reason that for a farmhouse to qualify, the occupants must be substantially engaged in agriculture on the land where the farmhouse is located. It also seems clear that there should be an attempt to make a profit, which would preclude somebody from having a tomato patch claiming that they're qualified for ag exempt. The court did discuss sideline activities. Another topic of discussion on the November 20th meeting was agricultural experiences. This is a new provision that was brought into the code on the 2020 revision and has not been tested in court to my knowledge. However, it is worded very broadly, which reflects the legislature's intent to grant farms wide latitude and to seek creative ways to promote their businesses and provide relief from burdensome regulations and permits. Additionally, on the August 25th letter, we asked the board to address the issue of the Planning and Development Department's request for and retention of citizens' federal income tax records. I was personally asked for a copy of my 1040, and in 2020, I provided the department with a copy of my Schedule F. Request again that the board ensure any of these records in the department's possession be destroyed, and this information should not be requested in the future. At the Planning Commission meeting on November 20th, the Director of Planning and Development, Mr. Matt Wyant, claimed one of the signatories of our letter dated August 25th left him a voicemail stating they did not intend to sign the letter, and therefore Mr. Wyant was disregarding that letter. While it's possible a mistake was made or someone changed their mind about signing this letter, I reached out to those citizens and none have expressed a desire to remove their names to me. Either way, I would ask the board not ignore the rest of the 30-some citizens that are concerned with this issue. Finally, I'd like to say I have nothing personally to gain from these proposed changes. My land, farm buildings, and farmhouse have been established as exempt under the chapter, and after being illegally denied initially. My goal is to ensure that the citizens of this county are treated lawfully and respectfully, and to help the other farmers succeed in the challenging but rewarding business of agricultural production, and I do think the board shares that objective. In fact, I know you do. That was the letter. I did have 2 errors that came to light after that letter was sent, one significant error, and so I wanted to clear that up as well. The first was that I did actually receive an email a few days after that letter was sent from one of the original signers asking them to remove their name, which I was happy to do. The second significant error is that I stated it seems clear that there must be an intent to make a profit in order to qualify as exempt. However, this is not the case. In his dissent in Lang, footnote number 9, Chief Justice Wiggins states the following, quote, "As a side note, we have never imposed a requirement that agricultural activities be for profit, which seems to be something that the board and the zoning administrator were concerned with. Many of the old cases seem to presume that agricultural activities be for profit, but section 335.2 does not require it. Although section 335.2 is entitled Farms Exempt, it does not define what a farm is for the purpose of the statute. When a statutory term is undefined, we give it its common meaning. A, quote, farm may be defined as, quote, a tract of land devoted to agricultural purposes, a plot of land devoted to the raising of animals and especially domestic livestock, or a tract of water reserved for the artificial cultivation of some aquatic life," from Merriam-Webster's 2003 edition dictionary. Similarly, a, quote, farmer may be defined as a person who cultivates land or crops or raises animals or fish. These definitions do not contain any reference to the derivation of income as a result of the activities or requirement that items grown or animals raised be given to any third party. Accordingly, a farm may simply be a tract of land containing crops or animals maintained solely for the use of enjoyment or consumption of the landowner. So to tie it all up, basically, the chapter 335 states, land, farmhouses, farm buildings, farm outbuildings, etc., that are primarily adapted by reason of nature and area for use for agricultural purposes are exempt from county zoning ordinances while so used. Agriculture, defined by the Iowa Supreme Court, is, quote, the art of or science of cultivating the ground, including harvesting of crops and rearing and management of livestock. Furthermore, the county shall not require an approval, an application, or payment of a fee to obtain an exemption. That was the recent change in 2020, sentence 2. There's no minimum acreage requirement. There's no income test or percentage of income derived from agriculture. That's a measure. That's not a permitted reason for denial. There's no requirement to have a profit or an intent to profit. And furthermore, the Planning and Development Department has been illegally denying agricultural exemptions. And I'm asking the board to ensure that this issue is rectified and protect the rights of citizens.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
Thank you, Heath. Someone else want to speak in favor?
My name is John Peniarski. Me and my wife, Tana, purchased a protected piece of land right outside Crescent. Sorry. Currently, we're living just over the river in Ponca Hills. We are building on Crescent, in Honey Creek right now.
Tell him an address, please.
Pardon
He
me?
needs to hear an address.
Where the farm
Your
is?
address, your home address.
Home address. Oh my gosh, I'm not really sure because we just moved from Glenwood, but I can get it for you. Is that
Well,
okay?
we can get the address of the farm. Is there
Yeah,
address there?
Yes,
Yeah.
sir. 19339 Cougar Avenue.
Okay, gotcha.
Okay, sorry about that.
That's okay. My name's John Peniarski. Like I said, me and my wife Tana purchased a protected piece of land right outside Crescent and Honey Creek. We spent the last 10 years saving the money to do so. This is our dream to run a farm and be a part of the community that we, help feed. I'm a beginning farmer. This is not an easy road. We weren't handed a 1,000-acre farm equipment and infrastructure from a relative. We didn't come from money, and we have to build this ourselves in trying times. We are honest, hardworking people who do to others as we wish done to us. We're proud to live here, but Iowa imports 90% of its food, and only 3,500 acres of that corn in Iowa is for human consumption. We have a broken food system here, and that has to change. We have rich soil, and food production, especially on a small scale, is great for enriching the community. There are laws in favor. If there are laws in favor of us and breaks to make it easier, we want them. We're not asking for bailouts. We purchased our property from a land trust, Sustainable Iowa Land Trust. The farm has been operated as a certified organic crop farm for several years. As a condition of the purchase of the property, we agreed to farm the property organically and produce table food, and we executed an easement to that effect. The primary purpose of that easement is to enable the property to remain in productive agriculture use and prevent uses of the property that will impair its agricultural capacity and character. Under that easement, we are required to prove conformity to the land trust through a certificate from the USDA. Now, the county planning office has knowledge of this conservation and soil and water protection on my land, which makes me ag exempt, as I've been in there a lot, and they never once mentioned that I am exempt. I was told by the county's electrical inspector from their office that I did not qualify for an ag exemption for my farmhouse because of my off-farm income. He said I had to make 50% or more of my income from ag. This is not a valid reason for denial. Furthermore, I'm not required to obtain approval from the office to qualify for an ag exemption, stated in paragraph 2 of Iowa Code Chapter 355. However, after requesting a refund for my building permit, I was told to fill out an application and I would be contacted. I was emailed by the county planning stating, in order to stay compliant with state code on this issue, and quoted, in order to stay compliant with the state code on this issue, please document the scope, value, and duration of the residents' agricultural activities in relation to the scope and value of the proposed home. You may add any additional information you like that the home is incidental to the use for agricultural purpose of the land. Once the information is provided, a determination of that exemption will be made in 7 to 10 business days, end quote. This is nonsense. It makes no difference what the scope and value of the home are. I do not have to prove anything. It's my farmhouse, and I am engaging in farming. The land for commercial purposes is primarily adapted to agriculture and has been for years and still is. But I responded with the information requested and a copy of my conservation easement anyway. After my response, I never heard from them again, and I guess why would I? They already have my money. So why does somebody have to hire an attorney to be treated fairly here? That's my statement. Thank you.
Thank you, John. Appreciate it. Anybody else want to speak in favor?
Nathan Cleffman, 43 Millard Street, Council Bluffs, Iowa.
What was your last name again, Nathan?
Cleffman is K-L-E-F-F-M-A-N.
Gotcha.
Thank you. So I'm just here to speak in support of the amendment, but specifically also the recommendations from Mr. Hoppus, because I'm a resident of Council Bluffs. I own a farm in Mills County, but I'm also a happy customer of the products from Hidden Hollow Farm, from the organic beef and pork and chicken and turkey that he's been producing, that I ran into him at the farmer's market here. And I just want to say that, clearly I haven't, let's say, looked into the same level of depth that these two have in terms of the alignment of how code is enforced here in Potawatomi County compared to the Iowa Supreme Court. But clearly they are very passionate about this because they've been directly impacted as they're starting their own businesses, providing food to the locals here. And, so yes, I think it's very reasonable that we should be aligned to the Iowa Supreme Court. But I think also we just need to look at the bigger picture, that in an environment of escalating inflation and food costs, we should not be making it more difficult for new farmers to get into this noble practice of supplying food to the people of this county. It's providing more options, more food for people to be able to buy, and that's going to have a decrease in prices as a result of more supply. So we want more farmers engaged in this practice that my grandparents probably did on a small Iowa farm that frankly doesn't exist for the most part, and there's a lot of factors that go into it, but certainly overbearing, zoning regulations don't help with that. And especially if we think about this whole thing of the 50% income thing, well, how are you supposed to get started, right? It's really only the people that are able to have side jobs and building up their savings to then get into the farming. Everyone's got to start somewhere. So again, I would really encourage you to consider the recommendations made by Heath in good faith, and thank you for your time.
Thank you, appreciate it. Who else wants to speak? Come forward, Doreen.
Good morning.
Good morning.
I really didn't think I was going to be on this side of it, but okay. Doreen Blakely, 18389 Sunnydale Road, Council Bluffs. I also own Matriarch Manor. That is a legitimate farm since I've owned since 1996. And it is located in Pot County, about 40 acres on 205th Street. So I'm speaking on behalf of that property versus my current establishment. So I watched and I listened to everybody and I completely support, even though I was like, I don't know how this is in favor of an amendment because there's elements of it, yes, I think we should be aligned just as well as the gentleman that spoke prior. However, there are caveats that we are in violation of. So in 2021, I removed my partner from the property and I asked for egg building to be put up. And I also was required to fill out the application and give financial information. So just like Heath, I would appreciate if all my financials were removed from county records as well. And one of my greatest concerns is the enforcement thereof, that we put in verbiage that indicates this. It tends to give an opportunity for those in the know to prejudice others that may not be, because they can use the wording within the code to say, well, they're in violation, but we're going to turn a blind eye over there because we've got lots of zoning and ordinance that are being done right now that I enforce this one, but I don't enforce this one based on who I know. So I would fully support the amendment if it specifies the overall umbrella according to the state, but I don't believe we have the right as a county to dictate what our citizens do on a day-to-day basis on a farm.
Thank you, Doreen. Is anyone against? Oh, you want to speak?
I'd like to
Go
speak.
ahead. Come forward,
I
Quentin.
wasn't planning on it, but why not?
Yeah.
It's being recorded, so it's my moment of.
Woman of infamy.
My name is Quentin Carrott, QUENTINCARRITT. Address is 25003 195th Street in Crescent.
Okay, thank you.
All right, you're welcome. Good morning. Thank you for allowing me the opportunity to speak, ladies and gentlemen. Again, my name is Quentin Carrott. I own Paradigm Pastures, which is a regenerative pasture poultry operation just east of Crescent. I recently retired out of the Marine Corps in 2019 after 24 years, and this is my chapter 2, is to raise chickens, turkeys, goats, and pigs coming soon. And fortunately, I'm bootstrapping. Unfortunately, I'm bootstrapping. I bought the piece of ground. I'm between the wife and I, we're piecing together this thing, building fence, so on and so forth, infrastructure. So I haven't crossed the bridge yet of getting an outbuilding or farmhouses, but that's coming. We'll get the farmhouse, but as far as outbuildings and livestock, that's coming. So I'm going to be crossing this bridge soon. So thank you very much for leading the charge on this, and I'm just like to speak in support of it, and that's all I'd like to say. Semper Fi.
Thank you, Quentin.
You're welcome.
Anyone else? Anyone against? Okay, what this board's got before us today is this motion, or this ordinance as written. And as far as like amending things, we would have to come back and visit that, would we not? Or I'm asking you.
We need a motion
Matt?
to close public hearing.
Oh, okay.
Was that you, Scotty?
Yep.
Okay, thanks, Scott. Appreciate that. Need a second, close public hearing?
Second.
Melvin?
Chairman Shea,
Yes.
Supervisors Miller, Jorgensen. Aye. Belt and Lippman.
Okay, back to what I was saying. Is this where we do amendments or do we bring them back? I'm asking you, Matt. I do not know
part of it would you be looking at wanting to amend? I mean, this was,
I'm just
We
asking.
came from the county attorneys, we went through the county attorney's office and worked hand in hand with Kristen and
Okay.
Matt over on it. So.
Okay, so today we're voting on this as written, and,
I have two nits. On section 2 amendments, 8.002.020-A. Kristen, in the fourth line down, is it supposed to say intended purpose of promoting or educating? Or is it correct?
Does it say for?
Intended purpose for promoting? Instead of or. So that's a change we need to make, is changing or to for. Do you follow me, Matt?
You're point 020A
Yes.
in amendments, section 1.
Section 2 amendments,
Section 2 amendments.
.035 agricultural experiences.
Yep.
Fourth line down, intended purpose for promoting instead of or promoting.
Correct.
You want to make a motion to add an F?
I want to make a motion to correct the terminology.
I think, don't you think, Kristen, that those grammatical errors are just
Scripter's errors, yep.
scrivener's errors, can just be oversight. I was only kidding, sir.
I know. And then on the agricultural uses exemption, 8.001.050.05, where the paragraph says no conditional use permit, special use permit, special exception. I heard you read it, Matt, as special exemption. And
That's probably you just talking.
well, and that's why I just wanted to verify. It's supposed to be exception and not exemption if we're going to mirror what the Iowa State Code has.
If I remember right, it should say exception.
It should say exception.
It does.
Okay.
But I can double check if you give me just a moment.
I think Tim just double checked for you, so. That's all I had. Thank you.
Ma'am, what's your recommendation?
That the board move to approve the ordinance.
As written.
Yes.
Tim, what day do you want the second consideration on? The 19th of December. All right, with that, I'll make a motion to approve first consideration and set second consideration for December 19th, 10 o'clock.
I second that.
Melvin?
Well, we do have a roll call vote.
Yep,
All right.
we do.
For 10 o'clock on the 19th?
19th.
I'm sorry, did you want it at 10?
Yes.
Chairman Shea.
Aye.
Supervisors Wickman.
Aye.
Bell.
Aye.
Jorgensen.
Aye.
Miller.
Aye.
Okay, motion carried.
Big changes.
Thank you. Thanks, everyone. Appreciate it. Okay, we're getting to you, Peg.
No worries.
You gotta wait a couple more.
That's okay.
Okay, next up is Adam Stamp, Dan Hansen, Steve Meek, Potawatomi County Fair Association Board. Discussion under decision on funding request, letter of intent.
Come on up.
Get in the hot seat.
Steve, come on up, Dan.
Morning, you guys. You guys can,
Yeah.
if you wanna sit here.
Morning.
How you doing?
You can have a seat.
Good, how are you?
You can have a seat until Adam gets done if you want to. You can stand.
Don't matter to me.
Okay,
I try to stand in the background.
all right.
Cool.
Told you you should have put on 2 thumb drives in case.
Got a second one,
All right. Okay. Thank you for taking the time to meet with us. As you said, my name's Adam Stamp. I'm the president of the Fair Board. If you want to go on to the next slide there, that'd be great. Steve Meeks, our vice president, and Dan Hansen is the head of our fundraising committee. So thought we'd give you a little update on what we got going on at the fair and
Good.
See what happens from there.
Okay.
Go to the next slide. I want to talk a little bit just about, real quick, I don't want to drag this out, but just kind of why we're here, why we think what our purpose is, what our mission is. To promote and advance the interests of agriculture, enhance community development, and provide quality entertainment. If you want to go to the next slide, we can kind of talk a little bit about how we did that this past year. So this is our most recent fair. We're well aware that there's plenty of county fairs across the state that can show you much jazzier numbers than what we're putting up here, but this is our county fair and we're pretty darn proud of it ourselves. So a few highlights I want to hit on here. 5 community food truck nights. That's separate from the fair. That's, what is it, 3rd Thursday of every month. Bringing food trucks and the community comes down, and occasionally we'll have somebody in there strumming a guitar and it's blow up the bounce houses. The kids have a fun time. And we've gotten pretty good feedback from that. So a lot of community engagement there. Next one over, 240 exhibitors. 240 exhibitors. Again, we know that there's plenty of counties that have more numbers than that, but we think our 240 kids are pretty darn special. So we're doing our best to provide them the best fair that we can. 8 queen candidates, 1,500 concert goers. Last few years we've been putting on a free concert. We get a lot of, certainly people from Avoca, but all our surrounding communities come to that show, and we've gotten really good response and feel like things are going well there. So, a lot more community involvement, a lot more people coming down and seeing what's going on down there. 395 open class entries. Again, that's people from the community, not 4-H members. That's, grandma baking a pie or making a quilt or whatever they want to come down and show off at the fair. So those entries are going up. That's a record number for us this year. Let's see, 7,500 plus attendees. That was our estimate of what came through. $30,000 donated back to the kids from our community to the premium auction. Again, I think every county fair should have the same goal. It's all about the kids and providing them a good experience. In my mind, that's number one. Certainly other components to it, but that's the big thing. So, I think that we're seeing East Potawatomi, we're seeing those community members, those stakeholders in the community responding to what we're doing down there. I feel like we're on an upward trajectory. And I think as a result of that response, or result of seeing that, this past year we were able to raise $75,000 from individuals, families, certainly corporate sponsors as well, but a lot of individual families in there doing it.
This is for East Pot, right?
This is East
In
Potawatomi.
Avoca?
Yep, correct.
Okay.
Yes, sorry.
Okay,
Yes, in Avoca
that was,
there.
yeah.
Yep, not West Fair, it is 2 separate fairs, but
Right.
We're over in Avoca. Yep.
Okay.
So, like I said, $75,000, that's a record level. I mean, that's several multiples higher than what we've raised previously. So we feel like we've got good community momentum, good buy-in from the community, and things are moving in the right direction. So to talk a little bit more about that $75,000, I'm going to turn it over to Dan, who was the linchpin in our fundraising this year.
Thanks, Adam. You can go ahead and click on to the next slide. So this was an annual investment that our community has made this last year. As Adam said, a lot of momentum moving in the right direction, and not only with our corporate partnerships and sponsors who have been giving for a long time, but have really increased their buy-in and their involvement this last year, and then had a plethora of additional new partners come on board. We also started to focus specifically on families and individuals. Just like we want our communities to buy in, those businesses like to see that families are contributing out of their pocket as well and giving back. And so we really focused this last year on joining and allowing those families and individuals and other groups to come in and be on our donor wall there on the side of our dance hall. And then grant opportunities obviously is another opportunity for us to look at. That includes everything from state funded through the Association of Iowa Fairs to typical organizations that provide grant opportunities like Iowa West. We received a couple this last year from Bayer and Farm Credit Services. Also looking at a number of others, including the USDA, including Monogram Foods, Community First Credit Union. There's a lot of opportunity there as we look at specific projects and what those guidelines within their grant may or may not connect to on our programs. So that's kind of our triangle or three-prong approach to fundraising efforts this last year. And as Adam alluded to, the momentum has really helped to carry us there. And that's what we did. And as far as raising the money, if you go ahead and click to the next slide, this is what we did with this money this last year. The $75,000 went almost exclusively back into large capital improvements. This is the cornerstone. If you're familiar with our fairgrounds, if you're not, we're gonna have a map here in a minute. If you're familiar with our fairgrounds, right along 59, Highway 59, the cornerstone of our, visually for certain, the cornerstone of our fairgrounds would be this old sale barn, over 100 years old. And we haven't had our premium auction where the kids sell that animal at the end of the fair season in this barn in nearly 25 years. And so we were able to get, as you can see, a couple working pictures and refurbished that, cleared out the old ceiling that you can see in that top right, opened that up so you can see all the way up to the pavilion. Fresh coat of paint, a lot of cleaning and elbow grease, but got that and had tremendous comments and really got a lot of people excited to be back in that facility. So we spent a great deal of time and effort on that project. Go ahead and click to the next slide. Our other big project this last year, on the left there, you can see in March what this building looked like. Some rotten posts and just an old maintenance shed that hadn't been used in multiple years. And through some grants and some fundraising, we not only poured concrete throughout the entire facility and reinforced that entire foundation for the next 150 years, but also put in new pins that allow access for our students of all abilities to independently feed and care for their animals during the fair. So I had a lot of great focus and comments and momentum with this project as well. Normally, either one of those would be probably a whole year's project. We fit them both in and we weren't done yet. If you go to the last slide, these were some of the other projects we accomplished this last year. Putting in a new stage, purchasing a new stage that we can use for concerts, but also for our Queen Night and multiple other events. The fair office in the lower left, a brand new ADA compliant deck that allows access to our 4-H food stand. And then at the bottom right would be a picture of our grandstands. And we've known for a long time that our speaker system's out of date, so we bought the first module of a better, grander speaker system to be able to hear. So all of this, the next two slides are some graphs. We talked about how we raised the money and what we did with it this last year. And we hope that everybody in the room and everybody that comes out to the fair can feel the momentum shift. And I think that these next two slides show that fair entry. Obviously a dip there for the COVID year in 2020, but even our livestock numbers continue to increase and a lot of momentum moving forward. So we're excited about the future of the fair, excited about the community embracing and being able to encourage further participation. And I'll bring Adam back up to go ahead and roll to the next slide. And this is when we'll take a little virtual tour through the fair.
Okay, so as an aside, while Dan's walking over there, I would tell you that when I was a considerably younger man and had a lot less gray hair, I showed at this fair as a kid. And, you know, even back then, if you listen to enough people, they would tell you that we were on our deathbed back then. But I would promise you that the rumors of our death have been greatly exaggerated, and we feel like we're moving in the right direction here. You know, I certainly feel like the community feels that way as well. So, as Dan said, there's our sale barn, kind of when you pull in off Highway 59, that's that curved road right there. So that sale barn's, like you said, is where we spent a lot of money and time this year getting that thing back up to shape. It was nice to have the premium auction back in there again. Directly to the east of that is sort of an overflow barn. We've got species, hogs and cattle both in there at the current time. Just southeast of that is our hog barn, which is a barn that you'll hear about here in a little bit. That is in need of significant repair. You can actually kind of see it on there. When they redid 59 and put that curve in there, we had to chop off a corner of that barn. So that created some structural issues there that frankly haven't been addressed for years, but need some attention soon, or else that whole barn will be in the ditch before we know it. So south, that's an old hog show arena. Then we've got two barns on the east side of the grounds there, are cattle barns and bottle calf barns. You know, frankly, we've got plans for the future that don't involve either one of those barns still being there. So that's what we'd like to see. And then kind of in the middle there, that big white barn is our dance hall. The old the COVID dance hall, that's got some historic significance to it that we would like to preserve as well.
Adam?
Yeah.
Did you call it the COVID?
The Akova, sorry.
Okay.
Sorry.
I was gonna say COVID dance bar.
Got a little
Okay.
frog in my throat here. So
All right.
Pardon my mispronunciation, but Akova, Avoca backwards. I don't know if somebody had a few too many Shastas the night they named that barn or what. But,
It used to be a brewery, so it could be.
yeah. Then we've got the show arena in to the right of that, and then down south, that's actually two barns. It's kind of hard to see. That first northern one is the one that is that sheep and goat barn that we spent a fair amount of time on and money on, and then that southern one is a storage barn currently. Several more buildings kind of in the park area there. And then to the west of all that is our campgrounds, where we've got, Steve can give you the numbers better than I can, but you know, we've had pretty good turnout of people coming and camping there for the summer. And
They camp for the entire summer, don't they?
a lot of construction guys, when they're
Yes.
working around, they'll camp there. A lot of families too. I mean, it's a wide variety of.
So when I took over the campground area 10 years ago, we averaged maybe 4 or 5 campers a night, or 4 or 5 campers, period, other than fair time. Now, on an average, that's a night. So 4 or 5 a night. Our numbers went from, like I said, money-wise, it went from making maybe $15 to $100 a night to now we're making a week probably right around $1,500 to $2,000.
Wow, good job.
So,
I'm sorry, real quick question. You guys are doing a pretty good job of rehabilitating the buildings in East Fair. How about rehabilitating the Bluegrass Festival that used to be in Avoca years ago?
The guy that used to run that actually doesn't do it anymore.
Okay.
Not in our area anyways. He's moved on because they outgrew our area. So that was all put on by a promoter, and the promoter is the one that ran the entire thing. They just rented our grounds for that.
Okay.
And I think he is now, well, he was in Missouri Valley, but I don't know where he went after that. He
have
outgrew
not
that
seen it
as well.
since. Yeah.
So it's been a while.
Would there be a possibility of maybe you folks doing something along those lines?
I love all those ideas. I mean,
I
don't think that there's anything that we would say, no, we need to.
Well, I used to drive through there, you know, when they had the Bluegrass Festival going on. You couldn't drive through town. I mean, it was so congested. And I can imagine, you know, the local folks being up upset with all of that happening, but
Yeah.
it was a boom, it was a big boom for Avoca itself.
Right.
PR wise, I mean, everybody knew the Bluegrass Festival was on.
So most of the older generation, they do remember the bluegrass there, and they same thing.
They miss it.
I wish we could get it back. You know, I don't know enough about bluegrass to be able to promote something like that, but it is definitely something we could look into and see if we can.
I might be able to point you guys in any direction, so.
Okay.
I'll look into it.
That'd be great.
Perfect.
Thanks.
Okay, so that's a little bit about our grounds in general. The old grandstands down there to the south, you know, used to be, I remember as a kid going there and watching the demo derbies, and we used to do the championship drive out there, and it was just fantastic. Big, beautiful building. 10 years ago?
Yeah, no, it was 7 years ago.
7 years ago, we had to burn that thing out because it was not structurally sound, there was no saving it. And my biggest fear is that if we don't start making these repairs that we've started, then we're just gonna start burning all the rest of these buildings down too. So that's ultimately what we're trying to prevent, and get going in the right direction. So if we go to the next slide, we can kind of talk a little bit about what, as we sit as a group and talk about what do we need to get done and where do we need to go. This is kind of our big wish list. It's sorted a little bit in order of importance, in our opinion, simply because plumbing, electrical, some of this other stuff, you know, spending $500,000 on the Acova dance hall, I would love to do it. It's not vitally important to keep the fair going next year. However, plumbing, electrical is vitally important to keep that fair going the next year so that these kids have these opportunities that I'm talking about. That historic hog barn renovation, historic sale barn renovation. Two things that we've touched on previously. We'll see some pictures here in a little bit, but there's money that needs to be spent, or else we're gonna be tearing those barns down too before long. And, you know, that breaks my heart a little bit thinking about that, and we're gonna do whatever we can to stop that from happening. New cattle barn show arena. I kind of talked about those two barns that probably need to get burnt down. There's not really any significant historical significance to them. They're just old pole barns that are kind of there, and frankly, we think that there's something better that we can do with that. So I think we'll go that route at some point. And then that grandstand seating, like I said, we used to have that big, beautiful building. Now it's just bleachers with a concession stand and no shade, and there's certainly improvements that can be made there. But again, all this stuff takes time and money. So if you'll allow me, we'll kind of talk about the plumbing and electrical, spend the most time on that, because I think, like I said, that's certainly our focus here for the next couple of years, is getting that fixed up. So it's really hard to get pictures of plumbing. At least the stuff that's wrong on our fairgrounds, it is. So I'm gonna have to do this more with stories on the plumbing side. But that bathroom right there on the left-hand side, we thought we had it fixed up a couple years ago. We did all the above ground, went in there and got it cleaned up, thought it was working great. And we probably once or twice a day got complaints this year that the bathrooms were backed up. And we've obviously got some significant underground problems that we've got to, that's more than just a rotor to get it figured out. So we've got to spend some money there figuring that out. Every year, late spring, early summer, we turn the water on down at the fairgrounds, go away for a little while, come back a week later and start walking around looking for puddles, because inevitably we've got a water leak underground somewhere. We don't know where till we turn the water on. So we find it, we dig it up, have our plumber fix it. We come back a week later, and generally about 10 or 15 yards down the line, we've got our next leak that we've got to dig up and fix. So we're at the point that, you know, we can spend months digging up holes and fixing them. We think we just need to start over with our underground. It's clear that we've got an issue under there, that these pipes are just going to keep breaking. And I think we're better off just starting new, abandon the old system, run water to where we need it, and know what we're doing. The other fact of that, water and electrical too for that matter, there's nobody on the board that really knows where the water lines are at for 100% certain underground. We think we know where they're at, but there's no map. There's nobody left on the board that has a map. Nobody knows for sure. So again, water leaks help us kind of find where these lines are at, but for the most part, we're not 100% positive. So we think just starting over fresh on the plumbing side is probably our only solution that we can come up with. If you go to the next slide now. Now we're on the electric. First things you notice here obviously is it's ugly. And that's certainly, we don't like ugly, but our bigger concern, number one is the safety side. And I get the heebie-jeebies a little bit every time I look at this from a safety perspective. We also have problems every fair. Show day rolls around and everybody's turning their blowers on and turning their fans on and we're tripping breakers just constantly. People are bringing in their own generators to give themselves enough electricity. We just don't have enough supply going to the barns. And then obviously infrastructure within the barns to get it out to enough outlets. So we've got a problem not only getting it out within the barn, but getting it just to the individual barns, enough safe power. So what we'd like to do, come in, you can kind of roll through these next few slides. This is all just ugly stuff. We'd like to take as much of this stuff that's above ground and undersized, put it below ground and get it sized correctly. Something that we don't know how to do ourselves. Obviously, we'd have to hire somebody that knows what the heck they're doing. But, this, as you can see, this is no good right here. This door on this breaker box, I promise, was not hanging like that during fair. So that's happened sometime between July and now. But, there's an example of just stuff that we have got to get fixed. And we need to do it now. And
new treats every time.
We put on that sheet $75,000. Actually, Dan, there's some on the back if you want to hand out. We put on the sheet $75,000 to fix electric. I don't have an official estimate yet for that. That's part of the reason why we hadn't come to you guys yet until Susan or Tim reached out the other day and
Seems
talked
awful
about it.
low.
Yeah, it's on the sheet. It's 75,000 plus, and I'm leaning towards the plus side personally. That's just our best guess. It's going to take a significant chunk of money, and while Dan's doing a fantastic job of raising money, that's a big pill to swallow for us by ourselves. So,
Adam, the fairground's in the city limits, right?
Technically, we are at the line. We are considered county.
Okay.
We are not considered city limits.
Okay. So, but is that rural water coming into there then?
No, we do have city water and we also have city sewer hooked in.
Okay.
That was done back in, they did away with the well because there was 3 wells on the place. And they did away with the wells back in the early, I think they said early 70s, something like that, and then connected to the city.
So at the campground, is there water at the campground?
Yes, there is.
One hydrant right now.
Right now, 1 hydrant.
In the winter, I mean, we winterize the whole campground every fall. Sure. We leave 1 hydrant running up it.
That way the campers can still stay there and still have water.
Okay, thank you.
That's really kind of the end of our prepared remarks. I'd love to answer any questions you guys have, or if there's any further.
Is there any plans on redoing you had the grandstands, is there any chance of doing the track again? Have you guys thought of that far in the future?
Again, just like the Bluegrass Festival, I don't think, we're open to all options. We'll look at anything. Like I said, I loved the demo derby when I was a kid, and I think that's a lot of fun. Insurance for stuff like that gets a little spendy, so that's certainly a consideration that we have to make when we're looking at that, if there's any return at all to it. But I love the idea.
As of currently, the old racetrack is still there. It would take some work on like the berms and stuff like that. But it is still there. We would just have to rework it.
See it on the map.
Right,
Yeah. The map, we would still have to see it.
Bring my go-kart around it.
I remember watching go-kart races and being out there for different things.
Yeah, I still see the old.
Yeah, the oval's still there. But fair amount of grass growing on it now.
Any other questions?
Yeah. So Adam, Dan, Steve, when you talk about the water and the power, you mentioned that it's way above your pay grade. So you're gonna try to bring on an engineer to help you with the layout of the power and the water for that?
I think that would be smart.
It would be the most economical way to do it. That way it's done the right way the first time instead of doing it, a couple different times.
Part of the challenge we face is that this fairgrounds was pieced together originally, right? Like a lot of things are, but you built this and then 10 years later you had this on over here, and now you got just a spider web of stuff. And part of the idea behind trying to find somebody professionally to help us would be to avoid that spider web type of situation.
Do you have any plans to do any of this work before this year's or next year's fair?
We actually were just talking about that last night. We would like to, I think just as we sit here and prioritize things, there's electrical things that must be addressed, that will have to be addressed before fair.
Mostly power sizing. Right. There's some barns that are underpowered. This new sheep and goat barn that we redid. So we've got brand new cement, brand new pins. We put brand new lights in. Guess what? Power coming to that barn won't support the lights. So the lights don't turn as bright as they should be. So it's
very dim
in there.
So I think we have to address those issues before fair. I want to be sure though, if we're doing the sewer and or the water and the electric, that we have a plan that's a cohesive plan that fits into our future vision, so that we're not running a line and then 2 years later build a barn there and we got to dig the line out because the foundation of the barn goes there. Now we're redoing what we just did. So we've got stuff that we have got to take care of right away, but we want to, and stuff that we absolutely are going to do in the future in terms of electric and water, but we want to be thoughtful on how we do it, I guess is what I'm saying.
What I saw on the electrical side of it was horrendous. I mean, that needs to be fixed. But is your insurance companies, are they pushing any of this? I mean, fire inspector or anything? There's just no ordinances that you guys fall under that say you can't have people on this property because of this issue. I mean, is that?
So our ICAP, we fall under ICAP, and they come out once a year. Okay. And they walk through every building, they inspect everything. They have said that we are underpowered. They have not made a recommendation as to what we need to do to, for like the other wiring and stuff like that. But they haven't really said anything to us about it.
Okay. And the residents of Avoca are well aware of what you guys are facing, I'm guessing. I mean, you get a lot of support from them. Okay.
And then not just Avoca, all of our communities actually. Potawatomi County Fair covers all the way down to Carson, Griswold, Walnut, all the way to Shelby Tennant. Obviously, there's some bleed into some other counties, obviously when you get to Bridges. That's what's been really encouraging about bringing the momentum that we've had is seeing everybody come from all these different communities into one and really step behind us.
One struggle, one of many struggles, but one of the hardest things to overcome is, it's easy to go to a business and say, we need a chunk of money. We would like a chunk of money from you, and we're going to build this new cattle barn, and we're going to slap your name right on the side of it. It's a lot harder to go to a business and say, hey, we need a chunk of money, and we're going to put a bunch of pipe underground, and there's nothing flashy or exciting about that. So that's one of the.
What is your request?
We would like as much funding as you are willing to give.
Just open the check.
Absolutely. There is no upper limit as far as I'm concerned.
Okay, Dan, you're the fundraiser. Are you writing grants and using this as matching
Yes,
or
sir. That would be
however that work?
Yep, that would be the intent. So, to be able to use a letter of intent to, use that as matching funds, and be able to look at, obviously certain grants have specifics on what they can be used for and what they cannot. So, there's some flexibility with a lot of them, but most of them are gonna require that you have community support, or directly they'll call out county support. And so this would be a large help for us to not only show, our community members and the business members, just like I talked about, individual families from across those communities wanna see, businesses supporting. They also and businesses wanna see that those individual families are supporting. Maybe not at the same level, and that's okay. Frankly, all the businesses don't get it the same. That's okay. What matters is that we're all working together to achieve the same thing. So that would be the intent of the request.
Okay.
When West Fair was here, I don't know, a month ago, whatever it was, they had the same issues that the Potawatomi County Fair has on infrastructure needs, water, primarily water and power. And I spoke with Dan, and he mentioned that he will use anything that we can provide them to apply for other grants. So, we haven't started our budget process yet and our capital projects. But I would make a motion to provide East Potawatomi County Fair, or not East, it's just the Potawatomi County.
See,
Fairs
but everybody says east.
Association.
Not everybody.
Okay.
A letter of intent for $125,000.
I'll second that.
Say 125,000?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Question for you, Adam. When you have board meetings, how many volunteers are sitting around the table helping you three solve these problems?
Volunteers that are also board
That's what I mean, volunteer board members.
Yes.
'Cause
We've got, what's our official number, 15, I think? Yes, we have 15. Now, there's not always 15 at every meeting, Susan, but we have 15 official board members.
Yeah, I'm sure it ramps up about February, you start getting more, in March you get more, and then your April meeting in May, you've got everybody in the room because they know the fair's coming.
And we would have 15 voting board members, and we would also have, your local FFA advisors, 4-H leaders, additional folks who might not have a voting seat, but would attend.
As well as
some of those meetings.
Committee members, there's a lot of community members that want to be involved and help, but don't necessarily want to come to a meeting all the time. But they sure want to be involved on the livestock side or on the grandstand side or whatever.
I have to ask now, are there any prominent former residents of Avoca that have made it big in the business industry or the entertainment industry that you guys can hit up for anything? I'm from Audubon originally, C.W. McCall is originally from Audubon, just to give you an example. And he has made contributions to the Audubon community. But I don't know who would be from Avoca.
Who's our biggest? Johnny Carson's probably our biggest celebrity, but I don't think he's gonna give us any money.
There was Johnny Carson.
Who's that tenor was Lawrence Welk?
Yeah.
Can't remember his name.
I think Johnny Carson's still got a foundation, don't they?
I don't know the answer to that.
They do.
I'm certainly do that.
Yeah,
Some kind of
we'll find out on the drive
foundation.
home though, I promise.
Good.
According to
Okay.
chapter 174, we need to get a copy of your financial statements for the last year before we can award any money, so.
We can do that,
we'll need
absolutely.
those.
Susan, I'll visit with you on that. I believe that code says that if we provided them funding, then they need to provide a financial statement.
Showing how they use
So they
the
will need
funds.
to provide a financial statement for next year, not for this year.
I'm just trying to
This
keep
is-
it consistent.
And our letter of intent
So that would be for.
would be
the year
for
2004.
after July 1st, the next fiscal.
Is that gonna create an issue for you?
I think with the letter, Dan can go to work on the grant side.
Yeah.
You know, that's I believe that's the key, I think from that standpoint.
Cool. Okay, got a motion and a second to approve letter of intent for $125,000 for next fiscal year. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Thanks, you guys. Thanks for what you
Thank
do.
you very much.
Really, that's so important. It's hard to get volunteers in our little towns.
Thanks, Dan, for your time. Thanks, Adam.
Thank you.
Thanks, Steve.
Thank you.
Really do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Remember, the third Thursday of every month, starting in May, we have a big food truck night. Come out and check it out.
You need to do a punch card system
There we go.
and then reward people after they've been to all five,
That's a
because
good idea. I like that.
I would have been a punch card winner, yeah.
There's Hey, Steve, there's your next, board member, right?
The next board member. There you go. I like that.
Thanks, you guys.
Thank you.
Good luck on everything.
Thank you.
Okay, next up, Michael Geyer. It's been a while. Snyder and Associates. Discussion and or decision on CO2 pipeline inspector.
Brian, I asked this to be put on the agenda for, we don't have any say-so in the underground pipeline. That's handled by the Iowa Utilities Board. Our responsibility is to provide an inspector for any of the work that happens to go through Potawatomi County. We had a couple of presenters to us, and I think that, well, I don't know what the status of the permit is or what Summit's gonna end up doing. I think that we need to make sure that we at least have something in place in case it does begin. So I asked Mike to pop in, give us another really quick update, and then we can throw some questions at him and ask him to consider bringing a proposal to Pot County for their services.
Good. Go ahead, Michael.
Very good. Mike Geyer, Snyder and Associates, 231 Bennett Avenue, Council Bluffs. See, I made a presentation, I think that was back in March, it was sometime in the spring, to provide services for pipeline inspection, which, as Supervisor Wickman mentioned, that is a requirement of the Iowa Utilities Board that the county has to have. And it doesn't have to be a consultant, it doesn't have to be me, but the county has that requirement to provide those inspection or observation services if a pipeline is being constructed under the authority of the Iowa Utilities Board through your county. And again, as I had mentioned in the presentation I made in the spring, it's for the purposes of, I guess, protecting the rights of the landowners and the county. Make sure that land is restored to its prior condition, make sure drain tiles are repaired, make sure drainage is maintained, seeding and restoration, all of those things. So again, it would have nothing to do with the pipeline companies themselves. It would be an agreement between the county and whoever provides those services. And it's fairly well spelled out by the Iowa Utilities Board what things would be included within those inspections or observations. And the cost of that, really the pipeline company would have to pay the cost to the county. And I think we presented that as well. And you can have a fee, if you will, to supplement whatever other things have to happen administratively that the pipeline companies would be responsible for. So the pipeline inspectors would have an agreement with the county and would be reimbursed from the pipeline companies. So I know Supervisor Wickman, I had sent an agreement back after that initial meeting, so I don't know if you still have that or I could resend that again.
I don't recall, Mike, that having anything in it that addressed the county reimbursement or funding.
We discussed it during that Meaning?
For our,
Right.
our cost to run, to take care of the billing and the paying and running it through our auditor's office, our treasurer's office, all that kind of thing.
Correct, so that would be something the county would have to have a separate agreement with the pipeline company for that. So that wouldn't be something that would be run if we were to be selected to provide those services. We're not gonna be that interface with the pipeline company. The county would have to have a separate agreement with the pipeline company to cover all those costs that we would fall under.
So you're saying the process you would bill us for your services, and then in turn, we would bill the pipeline people for their services.
Right, so it would go from pipeline to the county to us.
You'd wanna wait until the pipeline people pay us before we pay you?
Well, we can structure payments. I think we had in the agreement that I sent out, it was 30 days, but I don't know. I mean.
Well, I think you need that county as an intermediary because you couldn't have the inspectors hired by the same company.
Yeah, we don't want to accept payment from the pipeline. Conflicts.
Will you send that agreement to Jeanette so we can all see that,
Yes,
please?
yes.
So Mike, how would your company handle a work stoppage arrangement? Let's say that the roads are mush, it's been raining for a week, and the pipeline company is pressing to move on down the road and.
That authority falls to the county that if they're not meeting the requirements of the IUB that they should be doing, we can file a work stoppage notice to the county to say, nope, we've got a report here for whatever reason. But the enforcement part of that, again, would go back to the county. We're not gonna have the authority to stop them ourselves. But based on the work that we do and the information we provide, that authority is granted to county through the IUB. Until they rectify whatever those shortcomings are and make it right.
Is that power given to the board then? Is that what the deal is?
I'm not sure of the flow.
We're gonna need to figure that out.
I don't think it's right.
I don't know if the county attorney's office might, at some point I would recommend that they get involved too on how that flows. But Scott, I don't know the answer as to specifically what entity or individual or department that falls to.
So currently, we're waiting for the Iowa Utilities Board to make a decision on the pipeline, is that how I understand it?
Yeah, I'm not sure whether they went through their hearing processes earlier this year. I'm not sure what specifically, how it was granted to the county, if that was approved or not.
I don't think they're done yet.
No, they
follow.
I thought they suspended it. Their hearing.
I think it's our responsibility as the board to contract with a third party to inspect the installation and all phases of the pipeline. And they have to be our boots on the ground to tell us whether the terms are being met or not. We don't have the luxury of time for an inspector to make a weekly check out there to say, oh, well, they missed this, or did you know I couldn't get to this road because it was completely tore up, or we lost a bridge or something. We need to have enforcement out there. We need to contract with a third party that's gonna get in their faces and tell them, we need to stop this because of X, Y, or Z.
That third party's supposed to be there when they're there.
Right, it's more than just a weekly inspection. It's every day.
And that's not what I'm hearing you say. I'm not hearing you say that you're going to be able to stop them when they're doing something wrong. You're gonna.
I don't know that we're gonna have the authority on the spot to stop them.
Yeah, I think you need that authority.
It's gonna be more than a weekly process.
there is something spelled out, and I remember reading about it, and I can't.
I need to
I
refresh
can't
myself with
think
it.
of where we read
I
it
will
at.
share this, here's a document, this is prepared by IUB, that is the county's role in the pipeline permitting process. The Board of Supervisors shall designate a county inspector for each project after they receive notice of intent to build the pipeline from the pipeline company. The county inspector can be the county engineer or an independent licensed professional engineer. I'm trying to find, all reasonable costs of inspection are borne by the pipeline company. And there's a lot of paperwork and documentation that goes along with this. I mean, we'll have file boxes full of documentation forms that we use, that we would use through the inspection process. And I can certainly share this with Jeanette, she can share with you all, this form. Following suggested method for organizing the county inspectors, folders, create tract folders for each individual parcel of tract. Before construction, do an evaluation of alignment, project specifications, the affected persons, the landowners, topsoil survey, depth results. During construction, if there are violations of the standards adopted by the state, land restoration plan, or independent agreements, the county inspector will follow the notice of violation process by first contacting the pipeline company and contractor. If the violation is corrected, construction may continue. If the violation is not corrected, the county inspector shall issue a stop work order applicable only to the activity and location of the violation. So maybe we do have authority there to
That was my
say,
point.
no, stop, fix it before you go further.
Exactly.
If the pipeline company does not remedy the violation in accordance with the stop work order, the county inspector will provide written notice of the violation to the Board of Supervisors. So,
Mike,
they could tell us to go fly a kite, we're moving on, and then,
We issue.
Brian, I need some help.
We need a strong inspector out there that they listen to, they respect, and they abide by those instructions.
So then it goes further, and I'll share this with you all. After receiving written notice of violation from the county inspector, the Board of Supervisors will decide whether or not to proceed with the notice of violation. If the Board of Supervisors decides not to move forward, the county inspector should provide applicable landowner with the notice, notify the pipeline company, include violation in the report. If the Board of Supervisors decides to move forward with the notice of violation, they will file a petition with the IUB for an order requiring corrective action to be taken on the violation.
this is the Iowa Utilities Board
This is their
requirement? Okay,
Yes.
so, and then this would have to be in the contract between, also stated in the contract between the board and the pipeline company? Between the county and the pipeline company? Is
I
that-
would assume so. I mean, it's under the authority of the IUB.
Right,
to even
right.
allow them to do this in the first place.
But
So,
I would certainly think that needs to be stated in the contract itself between county and the pipeline company.
yeah, and there's another document, but it's 113 pages long that gets into those specifics
All right.
that I didn't bring here, but.
Have you seen any of that?
I have not, Matt probably has.
Okay,
I'll look into it.
if you would.
Mike, how many counties have already selected a inspector? Are you aware of any?
For our firm, we're already under contract with a half a dozen or so counties.
That first sentence that you read, it kind of gave me the impression that we don't bring anybody on board until a permit's issued. Did you take
Yeah, that, I think it was in that.
I don't know
Is that how it works, or do we
I
have?
don't know that permits have
Tim?
been issued in the other counties.
I
where
think
we
I
are.
read that we're one of the last ones that has not chose an inspector for it.
I'd recommend you be ready for it when it does happen. I mean, certainly,
So you,
until it happens, we won't do any work, but
right. I don't know if we should take any action on anything today or not, but I would like to, I'd like this board to seriously consider bringing Snyder and Associates on to be our inspector for this pipeline project, if it ever happens. And I would like the opportunity to give Mike a direction of, hey, put together a contract that we can take a look at, send it through our legal department, and at least cover all of the residents of Potawatomi County if a permit is issued to Summit Carbon to bring this pipeline through. Is that something that the board would consider moving on today?
I think we should. I do. I think we're one of the last counties without an inspector on board.
I wouldn't agree with you there.
Well.
Cause they don't, cause some of them pipelines don't even know where they're going yet.
Right.
I mean,
But they
there's
just
still-
want to.
There's still 3 of them out there.
But like.
But I agree with, we need to get that work done and get something to us to tell us what you're gonna do.
Yeah, by Snyder being engaged with us.
Right.
They'll pay attention as the IUB ruling goes along and with best practices that are coming
Right.
up, and we won't have to reinvent the wheel and.
There will be no billing, no work done until they decide.
correct.
I would make a motion that the board contracts with Snyder and Associates for the county's inspector for any pipeline project. Wait a minute, any CO2 project that
There you
would
go.
come through Potawatomi County, primarily with Summit Solutions or whatever they
Summit
are.
Carbon.
And then, I don't know, well, let's go there first. I'll make that motion to ask the.
Can you abbreviate it? It was pretty long there.
Ask Mike to begin working on a contract that our legal team can take a look at. But I would make a motion to approve Snyder and Associates as our CO2 pipeline inspector.
I'll second.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Mike?
Welcome aboard.
Thank you.
You made mention that if the county believes or feels that some of the work that we have to do internally here should be reimbursed, you said that needs to come. We need to have a separate contract with Summit.
Right.
Well, they could
Well-
tell us, forget it, so maybe we just tack.
Well, you could tell them, well, then you're not building in Potawatomi County.
I don't know if we could do that, but,
We could try.
so maybe we need to
If
get
you would
some.
like, I could get some, for lack of a better term, sample agreements that perhaps other counties have had with the pipeline company.
That'll work.
Well, it'd be not, I mean, just probably if samples, it wouldn't necessarily have to be CO2. I mean, there's multiple pipelines that, and they have to be inspected just like this one.
Same thing, yeah.
So if you got something out there, that'd be great to, give us to look at, but, no, that.
But yeah, and that's.
What I call a matriculation fee is gonna have to be probably 10 or 15% or something for us to do the back house work on the thing.
The what?
Cause you're gonna wanna get paid. I mean, they're working, gonna pay us, some it is.
Yes.
They're not gonna pay you,
Correct.
so.
But you're gonna have, the county's gonna have administrative costs that go along
That's what I
with
said,
this
yeah.
as well.
We have road repair cost and
I certainly hope we don't have to, front a lot of those funds, but, I think that's something that we can work out with the company through some kind of an agreement with them, but, Mike, I appreciate your time coming back in, and, look forward to having you as our inspector, and, let's get that contract put together and to our legal team.
Thank you, I appreciate that.
Thank you, Mike.
Would you like me just?
Don't expect him to be the inspector.
I might put my boots on and get out. I've done it before. I did it early in my career. I did that in, it was a petroleum pipeline through Polk County.
Yeah.
Over by Des Moines, same thing.
Sure. Well, there's pipelines through this state, I mean, everywhere.
But it was the same thing. I was on tile inspection, making sure that they were replacing, repairing the drain tiles that they cut through.
People would be amazed.
Oh, yeah, some of the things you would find.
Running.
I think Brian wanted a racetrack over at the county fairgrounds to do flat track racing.
There you go. That'd be fun.
All right, so
Thanks, Mike.
I should just filter everything, or feed everything through Jeanette then?
Yes.
So
Please
we
do.
Yeah, Kristen,
Then she'll get it to them.
Do I what?
Cards?
I do now.
If you could get it to Kristen, that'd be great. Thanks, Kristen.
I think you have my email, but
Yeah.
just in case. Absolutely.
You got it.
Okay.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Yes, thank you.
Peggy, still awake?
I am.
Peggy Becker, Administrator, Veteran Services. Discussion under decision on application for use of Potawatomi County grounds at the Veterans Affairs Building for the Iowa Veterans Foundation Incorporated fiscal year '24 scheduled meetings.
It's not actually fiscal year '24, it's calendar year '24.
Calendar,
Yeah.
okay.
Because they meet quarterly, and they've reapplied to use the building after hours. Our board approved it yesterday, because they've used us, I think, for 4 years now.
I'll make a motion to approve.
I'll second.
Have a motion and a second to approve the Iowa Veterans Foundation Incorporated to use the Veterans Affairs Building. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed?
Peggy.
Motion carried.
Peggy, does, one of your staff members let them in?
No. We have extra slide keys that they have to check out, that they can use
Then they drop it
in our mailbox.
Yeah, awesome.
Okay, next up, Peggy Becker, Administrator, Veteran Services. Discussion under decision to update the rules and application for use of Potawatomi County property.
Right now, every organization that uses the building after hours has to keep an application every year. We want to extend that to a 3-year period for those that use it consistently. Like the Iowa Veterans Foundation do a 3-year period versus a 1-year period. VFW, a 3-year period versus a 1-year period. The special things like the car show, stuff like that, they would still be a one-time usage application, so it would be an addition application. But for the consistent usage, we'd like to just extend the time. We did take it through Kristen as far as if it needed legal approval, and since we're only adding a time frame, it's not required.
Why 3 years?
Just to make it easier for them.
Okay, so do you have an easy way for getting out of it too then?
If the rules and regulations that are in place are pretty exact of what can and cannot be done on the grounds in the building. So if any of that would be violated, we could rescind that pretty much immediately.
Okay.
But by signing the lease agreement every year, or the rental agreement every year, they become familiar, that board at that time becomes familiar with what the rules are. And with turnover on boards, things could start falling through the gaps. This is true.
So what is it, the VFW, is that who's
The
still in there?
VFW, the Iowa Veterans Foundation, the parade committee uses us once a month. I think those are the outside organizations that use us, yeah. Then there's the car show every August, the Veterans VFW uses. I know that the Vet Center has looked at us doing some counseling after hours to meet with veterans and do some counseling. And I also know that the Veterans Treatment Court has done some inquiry as far as providing services there as well, because we're not a bar. We don't have a bar associated with us. So
Right.
it's a place that they could need it, so.
Correct, good,
But those are county entities, so they don't need the application.
okay. Perfect, thank you.
Which will be easiest for you to administer?
It would be the 3 years for those that do consistent usage. And we don't have to approve the 3-year, like if it's a new organization coming in, we don't have to immediately do the 3-year. We can do a 1 year for a couple of years just to see how things are gonna go, and then when we're sure that they're not gonna tear us down, we can do the 3-year.
So you want up to 3 years then,
Yes.
Peggy? I don't have any issues with that at all.
That was the decision of your board?
Yes, they approved it yesterday. Because it's a county building, that's why we need your approval.
Yep.
Is there a second yet?
I don't think there was a motion.
I don't think there's
yet.
one first.
Yeah, I'm sorry.
Well, go ahead, make it.
I'll make the motion for 3-year.
You don't have to wait, Jeff.
I'll second.
Got a motion and a second to approve use of the building for a 3-year contract?
Wait, all we're really doing is
Up to 3 years.
updating the rules and application for you, so it's more than just a 3-year. So that's part of it.
All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Those opposed? Cool. Took an hour and a half to get to there.
That's
Almost
okay.
2 hours, Peg.
I learned stuff when I sit here, so it's okay.
There was a lot of interesting stuff, wasn't there?
Yes, there is.
Thanks for coming in.
No problem. Have a great day. Merry Christmas if I don't see you beforehand.
Merry
Yeah.
Christmas.
Happy holidays.
Next up, Jana Lemrick, Director, Human Resources, discussion and a decision on pay range increase for environmental education intern position in conservation.
Well, we have been used to talking about the winter positions, but this is a summer position.
Okay.
But we like to get it posted now, looking for anyone who needs a college internship. The pay range today is $11 to $13 an hour. We'd like to increase it to $13 to $15 an hour.
Is that still in their budget?
Yes.
Gosh, I don't have an issue with that. Intern for $15. I'll move that for you, Jenna.
Second,
Okay, got a motion to approve from 11 to 13 to 13 to 15. All in favor signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Anyone opposed? Motion carried.
Thank you.
That was easy.
It was easy.
Okay, committee meetings last week.
Can we talk about that study session for the for the wind and solar ordinance?
Yes.
I think the next step is to have a study session with the board, and I will make a motion that we put that on the agenda for next week, so that we can discuss amongst the board members all of the education we've learned about wind and solar ordinances.
I like it.
Well,
Need a second?
that's gonna be the only thing on the agenda. That could take us all day.
Need a second?
Wait a
We
minute.
got to start somewhere.
That's right.
You don't need a motion to put that on.
I don't think
No,
so.
you need the chairman's, that's chairman.
I mean,
Okay.
you can
Get
put
it
that
done.
on.
Put it on there.
Just tell them, get it on.
well, and just put it on there for, I don't know what's all on the agenda for that day, but put it on first thing.
Well, you'll talk in circles for 2 hours. You can probably get everything said in a half an hour. Any longer than that's gonna.
Well, that's okay, you know, if you don't wanna be our clerk for that meeting.
No, I wouldn't say that. I'm just saying human nature.
Really?
It's a big deal.
Yeah, it is.
Well, yeah,
Jenny,
like I said,
committee meetings.
I attended the SWIPCO meeting last week, and what I learned is they are looking, there's an open seat on the board for a rural Potawatomi County resident. So anybody who's listening online, if you want to participate on a volunteer board, we have a seat for you. Just reach out to me.
Who was on there? Is that something new they're doing?
No, I don't remember who it was. Somebody's sick and they're shuffling people around, so.
I don't ever remember having.
They have room for 2 Potawatomi County representatives, and right now we only have 1.
Which board? Which is you mean?
Right.
Which board?
SWIPCO.
I don't remember having 2 boards.
We always had.
Because I think,
SWIPCO?
Yeah.
No, it was always just one.
One.
Let's see, but that was 20 years ago.
Unless they
But
did.
there's
They meet in
there's
Atlantic, right?
there's an at-large position that's open.
Oh,
They
And
must have done some.
they changed something.
It's just there on the east side of Atlantic, right?
yes,
Yeah.
yeah.
Huh.
all right, entertain a motion to adjourn.
We gotta
Oh,
go.
public comments.
Oh, I'm sorry. Oh, oh my God. Forgot that. Okay.
Anybody sign up?
Anybody? I think I see a young lady back there. Doreen.
Well, for young, you get brownie points there.
All right, hold on, I gotta read this. Now begins our public comment portion of the agenda in an effort to protect the privacy of individuals and reduce the potential broadcasting of defamatory and/or confidential information. Our live broadcast will now end. Information regarding public comments and the public